Good evening and welcome to I-24 News Defense, your weekly review of strategic affairs, security, intelligence and more, brought to you in cooperation with Israel Defense Magazine. Tonight we'll discuss the possible solution for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 saga and find some Israeli pride with a Tavor assault rifle. But before we begin, let's take a look at what else is happening in the world.
We begin in Israel, where tensions along its northern border flared when the IAF targeted multiple sites inside Syria, including a military headquarters and artillery batteries. The attacks came a day after 4 Israeli soldiers were wounded when a roadside bomb went off on the Israeli-Syrian border. And now to Kiev, where a large military drill took place the day after Russian President Putin signed a decree recognizing Crimea as an independent state. According to a Ukrainian colonel, around 2,000 new recruits have signed up to join the local National Guard. Ukraine's Prime Minister Yatsenyuk described Moscow's claims as robbery on an international scale. We conclude in Pakistan, where 2 bomb attacks targeting security forces killed 19 people. The purpose of violence was to stop peace talks between the government and Taliban militants. The dialogue is aimed at ending the Islamist 7-year insurgency, which has claimed thousands of lives.
13 days after Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared, Australia came up with the dramatic revelation. Flight crews and search ships are on their way to the southern Indian Ocean. More in this next report here.
Has the missing Malaysian jet finally been located? The answer is, unfortunately, too soon to tell.
Madam Speaker, further
Early on Thursday, Australia pointed to satellite images of 2 objects floating in the Indian Ocean. Authorities referred to the discovery as a credible lead, but urged the public to be patient.
This is a lead. It is probably the best lead we have right now, but we need to get there, find them, see them, assess them, to know whether it's really meaningful or not.
The objects were spotted thousands of kilometers off the plane's original route, in one of the most remote parts of the globe, the vast ocean between Australia, Southern Africa and Antarctica. But since the images were taken 4 days ago, there is a strong possibility the debris could have drifted far from the original site.
Every effort is being made to locate the objects seen in the satellite imagery. It must be stressed that these sightings, while credible, are still to be confirmed.
4 surveillance aircrafts were dispatched from Australia to scour the area, and a nearby Norwegian ship was also rerouted to help with the operation. But so far, there has been no sign of the mysterious objects.
Unfortunately, with the weather conditions, we're unable to locate any wreckage or debris, but other aircraft are continuing to search up till last light tonight.
After hours of searching, the operation halted for the day until daylight resumes on Friday morning. Since the plane disappeared on March 8th, there have been a number of false leads in the investigation. And this time, officials remain cautious with their words, trying to keep hope alive, yet tempering expectations. But after 13 days of waiting for answers, hope is wearing thin, leaving hundreds of family members angry and frustrated.
Joining me now in the studio is Reserve Brigadier General Asaf Agmon, CEO of Fisher Institute and for Air and Space Strategic Studies. Good evening.
Good evening.
So 13 days have passed, and even if the pieces that are found now near Australia are in fact the pieces of the airplane, the mystery is still on, right?
Completely right. First of all, if it is the pieces of the airplane, we will have to look for the black box, which is a very difficult story as well, because it's in the deep water in the ocean. In the case of the Air France that lost in the Atlantic Ocean, it took us 2 years to find the black box and to analyze what happened. So it's still to verify that this is the pieces of the airplane, and after that to find the black box and all the other pieces in order to understand what happened.
And if they find the black box, then they will search for answers. What happened if it's a technical problem, or so the black box can answer all these questions?
The black box will give us all the details of what the airplane did from its takeoff to its final destiny, and we will be able to analyze according to these facts what happened, what was the cause, and this is the key to solve the mystery of the airplane. But I would like to emphasize that we still have to wait to be sure that this is the pieces. It is very far from the airport plane route. It's on the edge of the range of the fuel for the aircraft, so we have to be sure that this is the pieces, and after that, as I told, to look for the black box, and then we'll be able to solve the mystery.
Asaf, from your experience, can a large jet like the Boeing 777 disappear from the face of the Earth?
It can be happened, but it's not an easy. In my experience, I did something like this in my service in the Air Force. I flew the 707 with Moshe Dayan in '77 to Morocco. Before any Arab country was in any kind of relations with us. We flew, we turned off the transponder, we flew below the radar all over the Mediterranean, and we landed on a very deserted airfield in Morocco when they marked the airfield during the night with torches. So we land over there. But this is a very complicated operation that you have to have a country behind you, not just a small terror organization, right? Exactly. It's something very difficult, and you need a backing of a country or a big terrorist organization with the logistic capabilities. It is not something that a small group can make.
So if I understand, you don't think that it's a terror act. You think it's a technical problem?
When you investigate an accident, you don't have to think. You have to try to find all the facts that it is possible, and then you will be able, hopefully, to find what happened. So a terror action, a suicide attack, try, or an accident, all is an open option that we have to investigate till we will find the real fact what happened.
Mm-hmm. Asaf Gmon, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And now to some history. Battleship Texas is the oldest U.S. Navy vessel that fought in both World Wars. Dozens of veterans reunited in the La Porte, Texas, to celebrate the ship's centennial anniversary here.
The oldest U.S. Navy ship that fought in both World Wars, Battleship Texas, celebrated its centennial over the weekend. The celebration took place aboard the museum ship in La Porte, Texas. This was the last crew reunion for 32 veterans who served aboard the ship during World War II. One former crew member shared his experience after the celebration.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. And I'm shocked to this day about how we were treated. And I'm amazed with all these volunteers that they have here, you know, the preparation and everything that they went through. I would feel sorry for anybody that missed it. It was perfect.
In 1914, Texas was commissioned and at the time considered the most powerful weapon in the world. On D-Day, she fired on the Germans at Normandy and later in the Pacific against the Japanese.
Moving on, in its first year in the U.S. market, 15,000 Israeli-made Tavor assault rifles have been sold. Moreover, it has been selected as the Rifle of the Year by the National Rifle Association. What makes it so popular? Liran Musli went to check out.
The Tavor is an Israeli bullpup assault rifle. In 2009, it has been selected as the standard issue weapon of the Israeli infantry.
The gun is a short one with a rather long barrel, and the center of gravity is backwards, so it is very easy to manipulate in one hand. It's an assault rifle which is extremely adequate to a CQB situation.
The balance of the weight is on the rear, so you can operate the weapon very easily, even with one hand.
It's a modern design, very accurate, very reliable, and enjoys the reputation of being the gun chosen by the IDF.
Bullpup rifles are configured in a layout in which the bolt carrier group is placed behind the pistol grip.
The M16 is traditional, meaning the mechanism and the barrel start where the trigger ends, and the rest is just the butt. The Tavor is much more compact.
But when Israeli small arms manufacturer IWI decided to enter the U.S. arms market with the Tavor, even the biggest believers in the rifle were surprised with the huge success.
It happened faster than we anticipated. and in a larger magnitude than what we anticipated.
In 9 months, no less than 15,000 Tavor rifles have been sold throughout the USA, the biggest market in the world.
The civilian market in the US is bigger than all the military and law enforcement market in the world. The numbers in 2013 talks about 12 million rifles, pistols, shotguns in 1 year.
Manufacturers try to explain the phenomenal success.
It is accurate, it is reliable, it is very ergonomic, and it is a gun that people are falling in love with.
The US market is full of AR-15 platform, manufactured by hundreds of manufacturers all around the US. It's a new story for the US market.
The success in the US is evident in dozens of clips that emerged on YouTube.
They are fed up with the types of the AR-15s, the M16 types of gun, which are all over there for years.
Alongside the commercial success, the Tavor has been selected as the NRA's Rifle of the Year.
We tripled the amount of guns that we expected to sell in the first year to something like 15,000. We believe that this year we'll double it again.
Joining me now is Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Mikey Hartman, former commander of the IDF Marksmanship and the Sharpshooting School. Good evening.
Good evening.
So what makes the Tavor such an efficient rifle?
I think one of the main reasons that the U.S. market is incredibly interested in the weapon is because it's the IDF weapon. We have a lot of respect around the world as a fighting army. Unfortunately, we have no other choice but to be a fighting army. So if the IDF took the weapon, it's probably a good weapon.
So branding, good PR, and not being very good and efficient more than the other rifles?
Well, the weapon itself, as was said, is a bullpup, meaning it's a lot more compact. The whole mechanism is in the stock. What that allows us to do is it's much more efficient for CQB, fighting inside of houses and stuff like that. We're not the first ones to do that. There's been done in other places around the world, but the weapon is a very, very good weapon. I was in charge to implement it into the IDF, and the weapon is a good weapon.
So why are some infantry divisions in the IDF still carry the M4?
The M4 and the M16. We have about 40% of our fighters are without...
I still remember my M16.
Sure. So about 60% of the soldiers are with the Tavor and about 40% are with the M16 M4s. This is done for many reasons. I eventually see that the entire infantry will be with the Tavor. It's just a question of time. It has to do with reserves, and that after you do your first 3 years, you then go into reserves, and it's kind of complicated when you have two different weapons. So it has to be done. It's a question of quantity and amount of soldiers that need to be given the weapon. So I would probably say 3 to 4 years from now, the entire infantry will be with the Tavor.
You're an American.
Yes, ma'am.
Why? How did the American people become such fans of weapons?
Well,
civilians.
You have to understand, there is over 330 million firearms in people's homes in the U.S. That's about a 1-to-1 ratio of the people that live in America. So people don't understand that. 330 million is a lot. So we're talking hunters, we're talking sports, we're talking home defense. They are very, very proud of the right to bear arms. You don't take a weapon away from an American guy. It's just something that's part of them. And when they see that the IDF took it, so they definitely want to try it. It's a new toy, and it's a very cool toy.
Yes, well, you touched their pride. They are also patriotic. So having the Tavor selected by the Rifle Association to be the weapon of the year, well, that's our pride, right?
100%. We have a big reason to be proud. It's not every day that something like that happens. It was a big success in the U.S., and it still is, and it'll probably be even more in the future. When the NRA picks your weapon, that's what we say, a stamp of respect.
Mm-hmm. The Tavor is also a success around the world, not only in the U.S.
There are many countries in the world that use a Tavor. It's pretty much widespread. It'll be difficult to get into the American market. You mentioned before that it's patriotic. You will not see an American soldier with a Tavor. This will only see it in the civilian use because they are, as we are patriotic, we want to use an Israeli weapon in the IDF. They want to use an American weapon in their military. So that's the way it works.
But is it possible?
If I had to bet money on it, I would say no. I don't see it happening. They will only buy, I think, USA. So if the Tavor was an American weapon, American-made weapon, they'd had a bigger chance.
Other armies are interested in the Tavor rifle?
Well, of course, a lot of armies. Many armies. There are also different types of Tavors. So actually the Tavor that's being sold right now to the U.S. civilian market is actually the old Tavor, and the new Tavor that the IDF has yet to be sold to the American market. So that's going to be a big deal for them when they get to that. So they're still on the old one. They'll get to the new one soon.
So that will happen next year, the new Tavor, the new version
I don't know what
Tavor?
IWA's plans are, but it'll be happening in the near future. I can't tell you exactly if it's a year or 2 or 3, but it's going to happen eventually.
Mike Hartman, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And that is all we have time for tonight. Be sure to catch us next week for another edition of I-24 News Defense. For all the latest headlines, log on to www.i24news.tv. Have a great night from Jaffa Port.